So we've got a ton of list methods, and there's a link to these in Canvas. So I'm going to kind of breeze through them just to go over what they do very briefly. And then in Canvas, you'll be able to check out the list methods as you do this sandbox assignment, because you will want to look back on them. So append, we already talked about. By the way, these are all specific to a list, not a dictionary. In some cases, there's a similar method for a dictionary, but these are all list or array commands. So a list, append adds an element to the end. There's only one required parameter. So now that you all are function experts, this box over here is going to become more useful to you. You'll understand the difference between a required or optional parameter. Clear deletes everything from a list, keeps the list variable, but it's now an empty list. Copy does just what it says. It makes a copy of a list. That's surprisingly useful, and you're going to, in the sandbox assignment or in the sandbox challenge for this week or for today, you'll actually see how that can be useful, because sometimes you want to make a copy of something before you do something to it. Count will return an integer that tells you how many elements or how many items are in a list. So if I have count, how can I use count to find out what the highest index number of the list is? Anybody? So if there are 2 items in my list, count returns 2. What's the highest index number in that list? Right. If there are 4 items in my list, according to count, what's my highest index number? 3. So what's the relationship between count and index? Count minus 1 is always the highest index in your list, which is useful because then you know what number to stop at if you're doing indexes, if you're referring to things in your list by index. So that's a really useful thing to have. Extend is basically allows you to add a list to the end of another list. So it's kind of like append, but it's intended to put two lists together into a single. So fruits.extend, and I give it cars as the argument. I've got a fruits list and a cars list. If I say fruits.extend with cars, that'll take the cars list and put it on the end of the fruits list. Whatever you're using as the list that you're running the method against is the one that is the base list that gets added to. If you forget, just try it, and you'll see which one gets added to which. Index, this is really useful again. It allows you to find the index number of an item in the list by searching for the value. So in this case, I've got the fruits array, and it says fruits.index and then cherry. It'll tell me the integer that represents the index number of that, which allows me then to pop that or to move it or to delete it. I can do all kinds of things once I know the index number. By the way, if it's a list, you could have duplicate values in there. It will return the index of the first occurrence of that value. So if I have cherry in that list 4 times, index is only going to return the first one. I don't know for sure if I have any others. If index does not find it, it will return an error, unfortunately. It would be much better if it returned something else so that we would know it doesn't exist. But it unfortunately does return an error. If you don't want to append something to the end, then you can use insert to put something at a specified index in the list. Now, if I have fruits, again, apple, banana, cherry, and I say fruits.insert 1, orange. Where is orange going to be in this array? It'll be between apple and banana at position 1, which will bump this to 2 and this to 3. So when you insert, it will re-index the rest of the list.
So whenever you're inserting something, it'll make that like whatever number you put.
Yeah, whatever index you put. Yeah, and it'll re-index everything after it. Okay, we talked about pop. Pop is a way to remove something but also return it so that you can use it in a variable. Remove is similar to delete or del, but remove does it by value. So if I want to remove the first occurrence of banana here, I could pop position 1 or index 1, I could delete index 1, or I could remove the value banana. Take note, it only removes the first instance. So if they have more than 1 in that list, it's going to only remove the first one. Reverse is useful sometimes if you want to reverse the order of the list, and the list will stay reversed until you reverse it back the other way. Notice this is a do something method. Notice the usage here. This is why function references are super useful. This is not a create a new variable with a copy of the list reversed. This is, we're doing this. We're reversing the list that's there. So it's fruits.reverse, and all of a sudden that variable or that list is flipped. Sort is interesting. It is one of the few methods that I'm aware of that has multiple optional and no required parameters. So if I have a list of strings and I choose like cars.sort, it's just going to sort them alphabetically. If I have a combination of numbers and strings, then it's going to sort them alphanumerically, which is a little weird and not it is predictable, but it's predictable in a weird kind of way. And also, you can actually create a function that will allow you to custom sort things. For example, I could sort a list of words by the length of the word using a custom function. Now that is much more involved, but you can see that example here in the function reference. And then the other optional parameter, of course, is reverse. So if you say reverse equals true, reverse equals false. False is the default there. So if you say reverse equals false, it won't do anything different than just leaving it out. But if you say reverse equals true, it would sort them in like reverse alphabetical order. Or if it's numbers, it would be descending order from biggest to smallest. So sorting is useful.